So, um, this is supposed to be a seller session where I'm catching up on what I'm doing with goals that I've made for myself or things that I'm working on. But as you guys could probably guess, that is not what I'm going to talk about today. I am actually going to um, talk about what is going on in the world today. And here's the crazy thing. It's not like I've got anything to add to this. It's not like I'm some, you know, whatever the word that that's not coming to my mind is, but I feel like as somebody that is in the process of building a platform and wanting to put good content out there, that I do have a responsibility, whether it's to one person, whether it's to myself, or whether it's to thousands of people, or maybe one day millions of people, hopefully and prayerfully. And not just prayerfully, but I know one day it will be millions of people. um, Something has to be said. And I will say this, it gets to a point where, as a people, I know we're tired, but we cannot throw up our hands and give up. I think we do need a combination. I know a lot of times in our community, we joke about how some people are Malcolm X and other people are Martin Luther King. And I will say this about that analogy. I think that without the progress that Martin Luther King made, we would not have some of the positive changes that we've had. I also feel that without the presence of somebody like Malcolm X, prior to his trip to Mecca, and even after his trip to Mecca, because he made changes and made a difference then, um, I do not think the progress would have been as swift, even though some might say that it's still slow because we're not where we want to be. But I really believe that Malcolm needed a Martin to balance out the situation. And I think Martin needed Malcolm. And I think right now there is no 100%, you got to do it this way, or 100% you got to do it that way. Because you know what? Even though I may not agree with destroying someone's business, in fact, I don't agree with it. In fact, it breaks my heart because I know what it's like as a business person to build your business, put your heart and your mind and your soul into it, and give it everything that you have. I know what that's like. So to be a businesswoman that sees another business person, man or woman, black or white, but especially black, because that's what we're talking about right now, in tears because their business that they've dedicated their life and their resources to has been destroyed, is heartbreaking. So with that said, something has to change. And there is no one thing that has to change. The government has to change. Politics has to change. Policies have to change. So it's going to take us as a people. We have to change. We have to do what we can where we can. And then they have to do what they can where they can. What does that look like? We need to address police brutality without a doubt. That needs to be handled swiftly. That needs to be handled now. No more police brutality and killing unarmed black people, specifically unarmed black men. That's got to stop right now. The other thing that's got to happen, though, even though people don't want to hear this, is that we have to do better with getting our own resources. We have to do better with building businesses, with building schools, with creating opportunities within our own community. I always talk about this. I talk about my dad and how he and I have differences of opinion on things. And there's things that I grew up understanding and knowing about him that were very distressful and very not good and unhealthy. But one thing I will say, I will thank my dad for this. He taught us that we are not to ask for the government for anything. We do for self. Now, does our government owe us? Absolutely. As a people, we should get reparations. As a people, We are due we are due our we are owed. But as an individual, we cannot sit around waiting for that to happen. As an individual, collectively, we've got to ask for it. We got to fight for it. We've got to march for it. We've got to protest for it. We've got to vote for it. We've got to be involved in our community for the progress that we want to see in the government. But individually, we've got to get the best education that we can. And that may or may not mean going to college. I didn't finish college and I built a successful business. But you know what? I have fallen down on my face really hard and gotten back up and then fell down again. Not everybody is made out of that stuff. Another thing we can do is look at the resources we have and start keeping those resources in the community by working together to build businesses, to create jobs for people in our community. And for those of us that need to have jobs outside of our community, guess what? That means you need to get an education. That means you need to develop a skill that makes you valuable in the marketplace. We need to understand how capitalism works. And I know people don't want to talk about capitalism right now, but here's the thing. We live in a society, even with all its problems, if you developed a product or a service that has a demand, you will make money in this country. Period. And I know people don't want to talk about that, but it's the truth. You can have an 11-year-old child right now go out, develop a product or a service, and develop a customer base on Instagram, on Facebook. Well, I guess the kiddies don't really use Facebook, but anyway, TikTok, and have that product or service blow up. There's kids right now. I'm talking specifically African American. There are African American kids right now that have developed products and services that are becoming millionaires. There's African American people that are 15, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 years old that are developing products and services, and they're making millions of dollars. There's others that might be making hundreds of thousands of dollars. We have to understand that even though we've got to fight for justice, which we do, even though we have to vote, which we do, even though we have to protest, which we do, even though we have to stand up against injustice, we do need to do those things, but let's also bring it home and go individually and collectively. I've got to work on myself. I've got to get better. If I'm at a job and I don't like that job, I still need to do the best that I can at that job while I'm searching for something else. We've got to change our mindset. The secret is there is no secret. And I've been saying this forever. I have made so many mistakes, but one of the things that I do, you see, well, you can't really see them on this camera, but there's books back here like Think and Grow Rich, the E-Myth, The Magic of Thinking Big, 9 Steps to Financial Freedom by Susie Orman. In fact, what I'm going to do is eventually redo this wall because a lot of my books are not up there. But there's tons of books. The Power of Positive Thinking, the Power of Your Subconscious Mind, I think I've already said The Magic of Thinking Big. All of these books are out here. And a lot of this stuff is on YouTube. If we can YouTube a video on how to be ratchet, we can also YouTube a video on how to build a successful business, how to get an education, how to market ourselves in the marketplace if we have an idea or a product or a service. So those are the things that we need to do. And when we can start building our wealth and building our success, we can start tapping into the marketplace and get the resources to where people will pay attention to us. Now, I will tell you this. Because of the challenges that are going on, because of the protests, I guarantee you people are paying attention to us. People are paying attention to us. And I get that. I know that there's some good that's going to come out of that. But once everything is said and done, once the laws are changed, once we get rid of police brutality, once we really face racism head on and break the back of racism, once we do all of that, when we go home, unlock the door, and sit down at our desk or sit down at our kitchen table and there's bills right there, what are we going to do to fix it? What are we going to do? I can tell you right now, I am a woman that has had a ton of debt. I have made some stupid mistakes. I've had times that I've had people that work for me and I couldn't even afford to pay them. I've had times that trucks broke down and I couldn't afford to get them fixed. I had to keep on going and keep on figuring out, even while people was talking about me in front of my face, behind my back, thinking I'm going to fall and not come back. All of that. People had all kinds of opinions about what I was going through. She drive a Mercedes, but yet she can't pay her bills. Well, guess what? Even before that, when I was driving a Toyota, I was still, and I drive a Toyota Prius, by the way. But it was like, I would do well for a while, and then something would break down, or my savings would get sucked up because I didn't have enough saved. But I'm not going to get all into that story. But just know that every mistake that you could make in business, I've made. And guess what? I'm going to make some more mistakes. But what I want us to do as a people, I want us to fight against injustice. I want us to speak up against things that aren't right, that are not right. But I also want us to start thinking about what happens once the fighting is over, once we leave the protest, once we finally get justice in our country, once we break the back of racism, then what? Like right now, if tomorrow morning we woke up and there was absolutely no more racism, how are you going to pay your bills? How are you going to put your kids in the best schools? How are you going to eat healthy? Yeah, a lot of those things will be addressed. Yes, you can create opportunity, but here's the thing though. If a company decided we're getting rid of all of the racist policies, we are getting rid of all of those racist policies, and we're going to create opportunities for people. Are you in a position to take advantage of those opportunities? Do you have the skill set that a company wants? Let's talk about Black businesses. What if we created a utopia where, we had a community where, in fact, there are communities in Atlanta right now. There are communities right now in Atlanta that are predominantly African American that are looking for good people in IT. Can you get that IT job? Have you put yourself in a position where you, instead of just watching TikTok and Instagram, do you know how to use social media for marketing and promotion and business? Do you understand how the algorithms work? Have you sat down and wrote your goals? If a business owner, African American business owner, came to you right now in their accounting division, do you have the know-how to run that division? Yeah. So we got to fight for injustice, but we also got to fight to get things right in our own house. And so my prayer is that this will be a wake-up call, not meaning me being a wake-up call, because Lord knows I'm still just trying to put my stuff together so that I can be of use to our community. I can be of use to myself. I can do better, and I can help people learn from my mistakes because I've made a ton of them. But what are we going to do? What are you going to do? When all is said and done, what are you going to do to make your life better? Say we lived in this utopia where all the racism was gone. What are you going to do to position yourself to take advantage of the opportunities that will come your way? Are you ready? Are you prepared? That's all I want to know. What are we going to do to make our lives better, collectively and individually? Think about it.